additional skills to bring to it that
Okay.
Barack Obama didn't already bring to it.
Fair enough, but that was really the question, whether there was some level of skills that the president could have brought to bear here. And I just
He
used
did
that
everything.
as a
He's done
reference.
everything he has the power to do.
Okay.
Two thoughts.
There's one more point
LBJ,
there.
I've been thinking about him a lot lately for two reasons. One, after he won in 1964, he sat down with his aides and said, look, I won by, I think it was 16 million votes. I'm going to lose basically 1 million votes of support every single month. So we need to get this program through in about 16 months. And that's basically the calculation Barack Obama made. Get the transformative agenda through as quickly as possible. LBJ also had a rule that he picked up from a senator, I forget whom, but and I say this as a cat person, but it was the dead cat on the porch theory of legislation. As soon as a bill is out there, it's like a dead cat on your porch, and you have to keep it moving, or it's going to start to smell very badly. And this bill is smelling, and if they don't get it, through the House.
Why is this bill smelling?
It doesn't come close to living up to the rhetorical promises that Obama and Pelosi continue to make. If you could go from their speeches to the reality of the bill and it's stacked up, I think the thing would survive much better than it has done so far.
Look, hasn't been a president who's put a bill forward, and that includes Medicare, who didn't have rhetoric that exceeded the reality. I'd want to make one more point here, Charlie, about the 1960s. Lyndon Johnson had half his Democrats as conservative members, mostly from the South, and the Republicans had about a third who were liberals or moderates.
Right.
All the coalitions worked across party lines. Now we're like parliamentary parties, but we don't have a parliamentary system. And you can't operate very easily in that fashion. If the minority party decides that they're going to unite in opposition, and the majority decides that it isn't worth it to try and get minority members, it makes for very difficult legislating.
Okay, on the politics.
The other piece of this that I think we should just talk about quickly is the media, right? So how do people learn about the bill? How do they decide if it smells, right? Well, we report on it for them. And I work at a newspaper and I work in a magazine. And what we do is we report on the bit that changes every day. And so part of that is process, but part of that, the pieces that remain in play are on the margins of the bill and are particularly the unpopular pieces. Abortion gets settled at the end. Public option, which was very controversial, gets settled at the end. The excise tax gets settled at the end. So while at the beginning you settle the popular parts of the bill, and then you don't really mention them again that often, and then we spend an enormous amount of time talking about the Nebraska deal or the excise tax or the public option or other portions of it that are exciting and changing and are moving because congressmen aren't politically comfortable with them. So one thing that you do just have is a focus on the parts of the bill that are hard to sell because the parts that are easy to sell got settled and we stopped talking about them.
But there are big elements of this bill that aren't popular. I would say that overall cost, the tax increases, the Medicare reductions, those are a big deal. And people just don't find it credible that you're going to create an enormous new entitlement and it's going to reduce cost and be magically affordable. It just
I agree that people don't find it credible, but it's part of that, right? This question of magical. I mean, I'm writing a piece on this now, but it's exactly right. We all in Washington, we live and die by the CBO, and so we say, oh, CBO said this. Everybody understands how the bill costs money. We spend money to cover people. But the 5, 6, 10 cost controls in there, that we build this Medicare commission, that we start amassing evidence to rid the system of unnecessary procedures, to begin to tax high-value plans to move people towards managed care. That's complicated stuff that we're bad at doing.
2018.
It's complicated stuff that we're bad at explaining, and so they don't understand the cost control at all. But that doesn't mean it's magical. It's there.
But it does mean it's unlikely to work. It does mean it's unlikely to work, and partially because it's hard to explain. Let's go to that.
It's unlikely to work because it's hard to explain. It's unlikely to work because it's optimistic.
The government that works is actually easier to explain than this stuff. Yeah. But, people want to talk about cost controls in this bill. I personally don't believe there are any, and the one that they're hanging on the strongest is this so-called tax on union and other health care plans that won't take effect until 2 years after President Obama's second term. What that means is it is going to be repealed. It will be a campaign issue in that presidential campaign, which is likely after 2 terms of Obama to give you a Republican president. There won't be a Democratic president who wants that tax to go into effect. And so anyone who takes that tax seriously as actually being part of this thing that will live on in law is taking an extremely naive approach to how this will actually play out long term. People sit here and they use CBO estimates to tell you conclusively what's going to happen 13 years from now.
So what would you do as an alternative to CBO estimates?
Well, I'm the only person I think at the table who's actually negotiated with CBO on cost estimates, and let me just say this.
Don't pull your old CBO
CBO is the fairest scorer in Washington. And so if this is fair, what CBO always does is they tilt about this much toward the party in power, and we pull them over there, and they try to help us get across the finish line in every little phrase
So
that
you
they
think
can.
we're waiting for an announcement from CBO
No,
that
you're
will
not.
be
No,
favored
you're not.
to?
No, you're not. They are telling you you're waiting for CBO because what you're really waiting for is a very large block of undecided voters in the House who aren't there yet, and you can't get your CBO estimate until you have all your votes lined up, because you're going to make deals to get those votes.
So wait a minute. So therefore, Nancy Pelosi does not want to see the
They're
CBO
not going to
estimate.
say to you the reason
I'm
we're
not
not
say.
doing.
I'm
they're not
asking
gonna
about
say,
what your opinion is.
Yeah, my opinion is they don't have the votes. That's why they don't have CBO.
All right, is that you, Norm? You know the Congress.
No. No, they have a
no. Lawrence is wrong.
I beg your
Lawrence
pardon.
is
I'll
wrong.
defend
in
you,
this case.
Lawrence, right after that. That's great.
Lawrence is wrong on a couple of particulars. One is one of the problems with the CBO estimates right now is that they can't estimate cost savings from things like comparative effectiveness or an independent Medicare board. So we may be underestimating some of the cost savings in areas that almost every health economist would say actually has some significant promise to it. But beyond that, they're under tremendous time pressures right now. Once they get a bill and get the CBO estimates, they've got to wait for 72 hours once that bill is out there before they can vote. They want to get this done by the weekend. They want to get it done before the president leaves. They want those estimates. Now, obviously, if it's an estimate that increases the costs, that's not acceptable. So they may have to jigger to do that. But it's not that they're waiting while they try and round up votes. They want to get it out there as long as the number is what they need.